ones like, why do younglings have to be younglings at all? Why, for instance, must Georyn be capable of wanting something that he'll never be able to reach? Why must a man like Gerald, a good man, have clearer sight for the dark side of human progress than for the bright? And why should a person be stuck in the wrong age anyway? Well, I'll never get anywhere worrying over those things. Because the starship was diverted to Andrecia, Father and I won't be coming to the family reunion, and it's just as well, for I'm no longer in any mood for a vacation. You'll see why. I'm going to record the whole story and send it to you, since we are not only cousins, but friends, I think, although we've never met. You asked me what the service is like, and I can't think of any better way to tell you. This account may help you make up your mind about applying to the academy, but I honestly don't know which way you're likely to be swayed. Since I'll be putting in a lot of detail, I'll keep a copy of the tape and edit it later for my report. The report won't be a formal, official one. Father will write that. It'll be simply the personal account required from every agent who's involved in a mission. I've been asked to cover the Andrecians' and the Imperials' viewpoints, as well as my own reactions. The service often requests this because they want you to learn to look at things the way younglings do. They demand that you be totally objective about the picture anyone you contacted got of you, even if this causes you to make yourself sound better, sometimes, than you really were. So please, forgive what may sound like distortions in my favor. It's easy now for me to see through Georyn's eyes and to speak in the words appropriate to his view of the world. With Gerald, it is harder since I don't know him well. Still, I can try to imagine how he must have felt. This, then, is the way I think it was. For Georyn's people, for Gerald's, and for us. The Mission. At the edge of the enchanted forest, there lived a poor woodcutter who had 4 sons, the youngest of whom was named Georyn. They were able to earn a meager living by selling wood to the folk of the village, and although there was seldom more than dry bread or thin gruel on their table, they were not miserable. Yet the brothers, as they grew to manhood, found little satisfaction in their lot. Often, as they toiled at the hewing of a tree on the outskirts of the wood, they stopped to watch the huntsmen of the king ride by to hunt in the enchanted forest, which their father had forbidden them to enter. And the eldest son would say, "Ah, if I but had the power of the king and 100 servants to do my bidding." And the next brother would laugh and reply, "Myself, I would settle for the king's treasure, for gold buys all that a man could wish for." And the next would tell them, "You are both fools, but if a man could win a fair bride, such as the king's daughter, he would be well content." Georyn, the youngest, would say nothing. Yet in his own heart he would whisper, "Had I the wisdom of the king and his counselors, I would not be merely a woodcutter, and indeed I would not be hungry, nor would the villagers. And I would know the secret of the enchanted forest and be free to hunt there, and someday I might go even beyond it." Now to that country there came a time of great sorrow, for on the far side of the enchanted forest there appeared a monstrous dragon that breathed fire, and its roaring could be heard far and wide over the land. And many folk fled in terror, fearing that their homes would be laid waste. Many of the king's huntsmen went to fight the dragon, yet the dragon remained, and no men returned. At last, the king sent forth a decree, and in every village it was proclaimed. Whosoever should free the land of the terrible dragon would be given whatever reward his heart should desire, even to a half of the kingdom. Yet the people were afraid. If the king's own huntsmen had failed, How could mere villagers face the monster and kill it? And few men entertained thoughts of the king's reward. But the woodcutter's sons had dreamed long of possessing such as the king could give, and they begged their father for permission to travel to the king and ask his blessing in the quest. The woodcutter himself, however, opposed them. "Even to enter the enchanted forest is death for such as you," he cried. "Yet you talk of dragons. I forbid it. You shall not go." The 3 elder brothers went angrily to their beds and whispered far into the night, making plans to disobey their father and set out together at first light, for they believed their valor equal to that of nobles and huntsmen. But Georyn talked further with the woodcutter, asking, "Why should it be death to enter the forest, when the king and his followers have hunted there since before I was born?" "As I have often told you," replied the woodcutter, "the enchanted forest is the home of evil spirits, who have laid a curse on all who go there, though they dare not touch the king's companions. This was true even before the dragon appeared to ravage our land." "Then if the king should send us, they would not touch us either." "Perhaps not. But how could you hope to slay the dragon, you who have never before held a sword? It is impossible, Georyn." Now Georyn knew this, for though he was quite as brave as his brothers, he was not so foolish as to consider himself abler than the king's huntsmen at killing. But these men had failed, and if they had failed, then perhaps the dragon could not be killed with a sword at all. "There may be a way to overcome the monster, father," he said, "but it will not be found by those who fear it. I can have no happiness until I have at least tried." And so at last, seeing that he could not dissuade them, the woodcutter allowed his sons to seek the aid of the king. They set forth the next morning, following the river that circled the wood. When they had gone but a short distance, they came to a fork in the path. One way kept to the course of the stream, while the other led to the king's castle by a shorter route, through the forest. "Let us take the quickest way," said the eldest brother. "That would not be wise," protested Georyn. "That way leads directly into the enchanted forest." His brothers laughed, saying, "What, do you believe such foolishness? Do you fear that we will be bewitched?" "Not all tales of enchantment are foolish ones," replied Georyn. "There will be a time when we must challenge that which lies within the forest, but to do so now, unnecessarily, would be no better than folly. We have no knowledge of what we face." Thereupon the brothers stopped and debated, for they remembered that they had indeed heard fearsome tales of the enchanted forest, and they were not anxious to test the truth of them. So at length they were persuaded to take the familiar way, and for the rest of that day they continued along the riverbank. It was a bright springtime morning. The leaves were young and green, the water sparkled in the sunlight, and as the young men walked, they whistled. When the sun had sunk low behind the dark profiles of the fir trees, however, the forest beyond the river loomed larger, both in the brothers' eyes and in their thoughts. The foaming roar of the water seemed less cheering, and upon the opposite shore a faint trace of mist began to form. And then it was that the brothers came upon a small stone hut, which surprised them greatly, for it had not been there in the past when they had cut wood near that place. As they were wondering this, a tall, dark-haired maiden stepped forth from the hut, and the woodcutter's sons stood silent in amazement and awe, for she was unlike any mortal maiden they had ever seen, and they knew at once that she was an enchantress. I was not supposed to be in the landing party at all. I was supposed to be studying. That was part of the bargain when Father decided we should